We're in Fukuoka to take you on a food tour.
Fukuoka has so many regional specialties and we're really excited to taste them. I'm Garrett.
And I'm Sky, and there's a lot of food to eat, so let's jump in.
The food tour starts with Hakata Issou. Famous for its broth, which is so thick and creamy, it's known as Tonkotsu Cappuccino. I am here 15 minutes before the store is even open and there is already a massive line. There is an intense smell around this area, and I think it is the pork broth. I'm having a hard time deciding whether I like this smell because it's half savory and half musty, kind of like a barn.
Looks like they actually have vents to air out the place. That broth smell must be thick in there.
Oh, just look at that frothiness coming off of that soup. Wow, yeah, just like a cappuccino or a latte.
So Hakata Ramen uses thin noodles specifically. And all of these Hakata Ramen restaurants will allow you to choose your noodle firmness.
I really like those. The thin noodles means that there's a lot more surface area to absorb a lot of that pork flavor. And so each of them tastes like it has like a nice little thin coating of like pork flavor on it. Plus, I always get the noodles firm because I like when the noodles have a little bit more chew to them. Time to try out this broth. Ooh, that is wonderful. This broth is super creamy and rich. It's also very oily with immense flavor of pork in there. I like thick broths and I love Tonkotsu style, so this is actually right up my alley. I can easily see this being maybe too overpowering for some, but I am loving this experience.
The special ramen also comes with a soft-boiled egg and a bunch of small wontons. Ooh, nice. Egg is still goopy on the inside.
Textures of the egg, excellent. Everything is just inundated with pork flavor. Good thing I like pork.
Well, it's super interesting that the chashu pieces are actually very thin and very small.
Hard to tell the difference between whether I'm getting pork flavor more from the broth or from that piece of pork.
Many of the Hakata ramen restaurants will also serve Hakata gyoza. Now, gyoza is popular all across Japan, but the Hakata style is different because they are smaller, even known to be hitokuchi, or one bite sized.
The gyoza sauce actually has a nice like acidity to it, a little bit of saltiness. The gyoza wrapper is nice and thick, so it makes it actually kind of chewy. The amount of filling is quite small, but it is very delicious. Very savory on the inside.
While I love tonkotsu broths, my gosh, this is super pork packed, and I feel like the flavor gets deeper as you go deeper into the bowl. So getting to this bottom, it's actually getting a little bit difficult. The richness of the pork is even more concentrated.
It is not often that I can't finish a bowl of tonkotsu, but that bowl was so rich and that flavor was so intense that I had to tap out. If you like tonkotsu, this is the next level, but I can easily see that this could be a little too much for some people. Now, I need to go walk for the rest of the day to work this off and get ready for the next meal.
Finding restaurants inside these train stations is always a bit challenging. These stations are huge, and Google Maps is not so good at handling the third dimension when there's multiple floors. Next up is beef tongue at a small restaurant called Tanya in the Hakata station. So beef tongue is not necessarily from Fukuoka, but it is a very popular dish here because I've seen it on so many menus. Plus, one of my Japanese friends recommended this restaurant specifically for Fukuoka. It's like a nice crispy char on the outside of this. It smells delicious, very smoky, very meaty smell coming off of these. I also find it kind of funny that beef tongue is served as a breakfast item here. This place opens at 7 a.m. and this is my first meal of the day. Let's see how this goes. Oh, the flavor is delicious. A nice grill on there. It's like a very tender, thin steak. maybe just a tad gamier. There is a chew to it, but it's a soft chew. And despite that piece being so thin, there's just so much flavor packed into that piece of tongue. They also have this broth here. Looks like it's like a beef broth that they also put some chunks of tongue in. And that is nice. Just reminds me of like, yeah, beef barley soup. Very strong beef flavor in this soup. It's nice and warm, warms the soul. I can see this being a very attractive item to, especially on a cold day in the morning. I think I find the meal maybe a tad rich for a breakfast item. This, again, does kind of taste like a nice steak. Having steak for breakfast, maybe a bit of a treat that you do once in a long time. But this is delicious. It's also nice that they have a lemon and lettuce, veggies to help kind of cut all of that rich taste from the meat. I also have this like grated yam, almost like soup, and it's such an interesting texture because it's kind of sticky, kind of slimy, but the taste, I think they maybe added beef broth and salt. It is super flavorful. I would get this again in a bunch. Breakfast, maybe once in a long time. Could easily do this for lunch and dinner all the time. Fukuoka is a big port city, which means there's a lot of fresh seafood. I am at Kawataro Nakasu to snack on a bunch of fresh fish dishes. This is a Fukuoka favorite, Goma Saba, which is mackerel served with soy sauce and sesame. Saba or mackerel goes bad particularly fast, developing that fishy taste, but it's actually caught in the waters near Fukuoka, so it can be quickly served and preserving its clean taste. And stir it in together to get all of that soy sauce and sesame sauce. That is really good. Very clean taste. Not what I usually expect with Saba or mackerel. I actually had my own doubts too because pretty much every time I get it in the US, it always has that pretty strong taste to it. This just tastes like a delicious white fish. And of course that extra like soy sauce and that sesame is a very strong flavor as well. In a few of these pieces, you can still kind of taste some of that classic Saba like fishiness flavor. I would say it's delicious and it actually adds to the experience to have just that slight hint of that Saba flavor. If Saba tasted this good back at home, I would eat this all the time as well. Also got mentaiko, which is cod roe that has been cured and then marinated with hot peppers. So it's been known as spicy roe. And as Sky would like to say, it tastes like the odi. I know that some people don't necessarily like that. It has a very fun micro bubble popping texture. Just has a little bit of spice in there. You can kind of taste the heat. It is definitely quite salty. So that little piece on top is definitely a piece of yuzu. The yuzu cuts the brininess really nicely though. Actually with a bit more yuzu, I think I would gobble this down. This one may not be my favorite, but I can see the appeal of the brininess and the texture is kind of like uni. Fukuoka is ideally situated to be a culinary mixing pot. It's an old port town that is close to both China and Korea, so there's a lot of opportunity for cultural crossover. That's why a dish like mentaiko is actually from Korea. Up next, I am at Ichibei to try Motsunabe, or beef intestine hot pot. Now, if you remember my friend from Tokyo, he was actually from Kyushu, and he specifically recommended this dish. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of intestines in other cuisines, but I had to try this out. This dish is piping hot. You can just see all the steam rolling off of it. Actually, the way that the beef intestines are cooked, they don't really look like intestines. They almost look like pieces of chicken. You can see that there is like a layer of thin noodles that are draped over the top, and then there's a layer of green onions on top of that. It's time to go in for these beef intestine pieces. Oh, wow. That's very surprising, actually. I think that big chunk around the beef is actually more like fat, and it kind of just melts off that smaller piece of what is, I think, intestine. And yeah, so this part on the inside seems to be the intestine, but it seems to be surrounded in what is like a piece of fat that just slowly dissolves and really easily falls off. It's very soft. The chef said the chunky part was actually inside of the intestine. The intestine itself ends up being a little chewy. It's kind of rubbery, but again, the flavor is totally not what I was expecting. It's a very nice, light, delicate meat flavor. It's not like the pungency I'm used to with like fried intestines. Of course, you go in for some vegetables. I do just love hot pot vegetables. I do a bunch of hot pots just at home. Plus, yeah, they've also seemed to absorb a lot of this like beef flavor that has gone into the soup. I know that this is a hot pot, not a soup, but yeah, I always end up drinking the broth. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, this would make a great soup. I'll probably end up drinking all of this. Got a little bit of spice from these little peppers in it, and also nice like light oiliness and extra flavor coming off from those intestines. And also, I believe I got the shoyu base as well, so definitely can taste kind of the whole shoyu flavor. It also seems like they have these wonton like wrapper noodles. They are kind of like having wonton skins in the soup, and it makes for a really great noodle. After eating the contents of the hot pot, you can get a finishing dish where they load the bowl with extra ingredients to absorb the leftover broth. Wow, this is actually a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be. Oh my gosh, this is pretty much looks like it's a cheese porridge. The smell of cheese is quite strong. Oh, wow. Hey, that's pretty good. This is kind of like a cheesy potato soup in terms of texture and some of the flavor, but because they added the mentaiko, or that spicy cod roe, there's actually a lot of extra umami and saltiness in here that's very tasty. Plus you have all of that salt, extra flavor that came from the soup base itself. You have all that rice in there to give it nice extra texture, kind of just nice things to chew on, and also help absorb a lot of the flavor. The chef told me that it is a mix of cheeses, like Parmesan and other cheeses, and it's a really good blend, whatever they have here. But because this is just all rice and cheese, this is definitely very filling. I'm gonna be very stuffed after this. Even if you think you don't like intestines, this is a dish that you should still try because it might surprise you, and the flavor is definitely different from what I'm used to with intestines. So I found this restaurant Ichibei kind of on a whim because most of the other highly rated Motsunabe restaurants all had very long lines. And I'm so grateful that this one turned out so well because I think it just goes to show that there are still a lot of small restaurant hidden gems just waiting to be found in Japan. We've made it to Yanagawaya to try the Seiro unagi, or the steamed eel. Pieces of unagi are first grilled and then placed on top of rice to be steamed together to infuse more of that eel flavor into the rice. The restaurant is actually named after the nearby city of Yanagawa, which is where this steamed eel style was created.
Trying out the eel bones. Oh, super crunchy. And it has nice seafoody eel flavor. It's really good. I wonder if they like smoked it or charred it somehow. There's some good grill flavor in there too. It's so crunchy.
I love that you can just hear the crunch.
First bite. Oh, wow. Eel is incredible. Beautiful seafood flavor. Well, I don't even know. Eel is such a unique flavor because there's always nice sauce, nice grill marks, and then because it's been steamed, it's soft and succulent and just melts in your mouth. The rice is the really special thing with this dish. It honestly tastes like an eel risotto because the flavor of the eel and the sauce has gone all the way through the rice and made it a little softer. And so the rice is really flavorful and super good. I'm not supposed to eat it straight from the paddle. This is for serving. It's really good. Sorry. This is the steaming box that the eel is cooked and then served in. And they slip it into this bigger box so your table doesn't get wet. This is eel liver soup. At least I think it is. It's a really clean, beautiful, soft soup, but it has a really nice like herbal flavor in it. And you can see, pretty sure this is eel liver. So the soup is delicious, so I gotta try the actual liver, but this is the first liver I've ever had. I'm pescatarian, so I would have only had fish liver, and I haven't yet. Bottoms up. Taste of the sea. If you like uni, you would like eel liver. Unfortunately, I don't like uni. But the soup is super good.
Wash it down with the soup.
Yeah, that's much better. That was a great meal. Now, food stalls are up next.
We're so excited because we finally chased down the most popular thing in Fukuoka, the Yatai. These are food stalls and there's over 100 of them scattered all over the city. They serve a variety of delicious foods and you get to see the magic up close.
Every day, these guys set up these shops around 6 p.m. and then take them down around 2 in the morning. Stuff looks pretty good. And they have the Yaki Ramen.
And grilled avocado.
Yaki Ramen. It's nice to pick up a beer at one of these stands.
Yeah, I like that they come in little goblets. What this? Oh, my bad.
This is the famous Yaki Ramen from the region.
It's pretty good.
It does. It smells really good. This smells like it has a really nice sesame.
So this Yaki Ramen is special because it uses the same noodles as the Hakata Ramen. So it makes it a little different from the typical yakisoba. Super thin noodles. Again, they pick up so much sauce, so that's why it smells so good. They're just covered in sesame oil. Ooh, that's lovely. What great flavor.
This avocado has mentaiko, which is fish roe, and lots of cheese. Wow, that's good. It's just like a fat block. Fatty avocado, fatty cheese. It's really good.
And after seeing that grill, I just had to get a skewer. Oh, beautiful charcoal flavor. I love enoki mushrooms and pork. Wow. Oh, they added really good salt to this too. This is amazing.
I knew it.
It's classic me. In one meal, I managed to spill the tokorashi and drop my yams. It's very normal. The salt seasoning on that is perfect. I have to say though, this yam tastes a lot more like a turnip. It's got a crunch, and a little bit slimy.
Fukuoka is a culinary adventure, and there are so many unique eating experiences here. That's why food alone is a reason why you should travel to Fukuoka.
That's it for our video. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time, friends.